Hi guys, welcome back to Pre-Law & Order. I'm your host Nicole and I'm here with
Maciel. And today we're diving into a fascinating topic, like what's it really like to work in political law?
So political law is where law and politics kind of intersect and have a little baby. So it goes from election law to lobbying to campaign finance and government ethics, and it's all really about the rules that shape how policies are made and implemented in society today.
Exactly. It's high stakes and impactful, which makes it so exciting, but also pretty intense. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So the first segment is what political lawyers actually do. So like I mentioned before, they actually are really big on election law as one of their, I guess, subsections of what they're responsible for.
Yeah.
So imagine a state candidate is running in a race and people are kind of challenging the signatures on their ballot. So in that situation, you would get a political lawyer to kind of just double check and either defend or challenge situation. And, you know, like depending on the outcome, either candidate would be removed from the ballot or they would remain on the ballot depending on the outcome.
Also, another like good example of like how they work during the elections or kind of like what they do. And like a big thing was during the 2020 elections where there was a lot of mail-in ballots, right? And voter ID laws, right? So they worked to ensure that votes were counted accurately and fairly while also challenging laws that might suppress voter turnout, right? That was a very challenging year in all aspects, especially during the elections.
And I would say that this year we had a lot of mail-in ballots too as well, right?
Exactly. Like after 2020, I feel like mail-in ballots became more commonplace. Because I mean, in 2020, no one could really go out.
Right,
so.
but wouldn't that also like prolong how quickly we get our results? Or is that not something that, you know?
I think the results like come like really fast, like not fast, but like I think
maybe,
it's like a week within a
shipping.
week.
You get like you pay for like the faster shipping.
The faster shipping, but that's something that political lawyers are also in charge about and kind of work in during the elections.
Right.
So, and then there's also campaign finance, right? So picture a high-profile presidential campaign raising millions of dollars from donors, right? A political lawyer's job might include advising the campaign on how to legally accept contributions without violating Federal Election Commission or FEC rules, right? For instance, they'd help make sure no foreign nationals are donating or that large donations are properly disclosed.
Another example is also lobbying compliance. So let's say that a tech company wants to advocate for laws around AI regulation. So they would hire a lobbyist to kind of influence policymakers and convince them to kind of like act in their favor. But those efforts have to follow a very strict registration and reporting requirements. So in that situation, you would get, again, a political lawyer that ensures, the company is filing all their paperwork correctly and that they're staying within complaint laws like the Lobbying Disclosure Act.
Exactly. And finally, we have government ethics, right? Think of a public official who's offered an expensive gift from a lobbyist. A political lawyer would advise the official on whether accepting that gift violates ethics laws, and if it does, how to avoid penalties.
That's actually insane.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing, the expensive gifts part. I've never actually heard of that in like an actual court situation or like a, wow. Okay. Yeah, but these real life scenarios actually show that political lawyers aren't just defining the rules, they're also solving things in real time and really under a lot of pressure.
So now we're going to get into key skills for political law, right? Now, if someone's thinking about getting into political law, right? Anyone who's watching the podcast, or if you already have your sights set on being a political lawyer, right? What are the skills that you would need?
So I think overall, not really only in political law, but just being a lawyer in general, is being very analytical.
Yes.
You're constantly trying to interpret and just kind of understand really complex topics, and just changing laws in general must be a very taxing thing, just on the brain.
Yeah.
So just being able to break things down and not only get it, but also be able to explain it and kind of just get your ideas through must be a really important thing.
Exactly. Definitely. And you need strong communication skills, right? Whether you're advising a client, negotiating with stakeholders, or explaining legal regulation, clarity is key.
And on that note, just also being a very confident speaker. I think as a lawyer, you have a lot of authority, a lot of schooling behind you. So being able to not only communicate, but also just kind of have that kind of attitude that, hey, like, I know what's going on. Like, I can help you out with this. Like, let me help you is also, I think, really important.
Exactly. And also, let's not forget, like, staying updated on, like, current events, right? I mean, the law is like always
Constantly
evolving,
changing.
always changing, right? This field changes with the political climate, so being informed obviously is a non-negotiable.
Exactly.
Whether you're a political lawyer, a maritime lawyer, corporate lawyer, any sort of lawyer, or anyone in the legal field, right? You have to be informed on current events.
Right, and also discretion for sure. You're often dealing with really sensitive information, so just being confidential and maintaining your client's trust is very crucial to just, I think, overall, like, maintaining relationships and having that kind of person there by your side or not just backstab you and be like, hey,
Yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. So now, how do you get into political law, right? So first, take relevant coursework. So you would want to take classes like election law, constitutional law, or administrative law are a great starting point, right? Try to take coursework that is going to kind of
Introduce you
like
to what you're gonna do
exactly
as a
and
political
kind
lawyer.
of show you what your line of work is going to be like, and
Right.
kind of already like dip your toes in the water
Get a
of
feeling for it before you actually
Yeah.
start considering it heavily, because I think
Exactly.
one thing is wanting to, one thing's actually doing it. So you kind of have
Exactly.
to discern
Mhm.
what you want to do. And also, I would say on top of coursework, I'd say internships for sure.
Mhm.
Making connections, meeting people that could teach you the ropes, and just making you feel more comfortable in that
Yeah.
element, because it's obviously new. I think no one is born knowing anything, so
Mhm.
you know, having someone that can teach you is very essential and just, again, very comforting.
Exactly. Like if you can get an internship, like whether it's, you know, with a campaign or a lobbying firm or a government agency, those are great internships that will give you a real world experience of what it's like to be in political law and what it's like to be a political lawyer, right? And
Also, like, events and conferences too. People like hold
Yeah.
a lot of just like open, like, anybody can come. I'm gonna talk. Like, listen
Exactly. Like, I mean, not only in political law, but as a lawyer in general or anybody in the legal field, don't underestimate networking. I always say it. It's not what you know, it's who you know. That is
Exactly.
so important. Networking is so important.
And even last week's Places meeting was with the judge. It was very interesting. I had a good time.
Yes,
He was very
yes.
friendly, super fun. You asked a question. I was like,
Mhm.
it's a good point to kind of just, again, network, meet people, and just kind of like show who you are, someone that doesn't really know you, and you could use that
Mm-hmm.
connection later on.
No, and just like their advice is so invaluable. Like you learn so much from their experience, like what they've learned,
What
like
to
their
do, what not to do.
Exactly. So, you know, networking is so important. Like building, and you never know. Like for example, like in the Places meeting like last week, right? You never know. He was talking about an internship that he was offering. Like
Right.
that was a great
He was
opportunity.
very friendly. Like, text me, call me, reach out to me. I can
Exactly.
help you out.
That's already like
people are
an
willing to
open
help you.
door,
Yeah.
an open door for an internship opportunity right there, right? So building connections with policymakers, advocacy groups, and professors, right? Those are all important. Like go to events and conferences related to political law.
Yeah, I think just don't be nervous for sure. I think everyone, again, is new, so it's not like you're gonna just be like,
Mm-hmm.
like the only new person there.
Exactly.
Everyone has a first time, literally, for everything. So
For everything.
there's no pressure. And I think finally, also considering pro bono work also suits if you know. I've heard this word like 50 billion times. Pro
Yeah,
bono, pro bono.
pro bono.
But yeah, so volunteering on voter protection efforts or working with advocacy groups can really help you develop relevant skills and meet people in the field. And I think this past election, people were really in on the efforts with the ballots, like you said.
Yes.
So that was, I heard about that a lot. Podcast, YouTube, everything.
Exactly. And now finally, why does political law matter, right? Why is it so important, right? So give me your take.
I think it's all about just really keeping fairness and transparency in our democratic process. So without political law to kind of like hold us down, there'd be no accountability for elections, campaigns, or public officials.
Yeah, I mean, all of everything that revolves politics and just the elections in general, we want to, like the government's job is to kind of ensure fairness, ensure equity, and
Just advocate on our behalf, basically,
exactly.
as like
So
representatives.
I feel like having like lawyers there and people who are like advocating for us and like advocating for fairness and all that is like so important, right? And for all lawyers in the field, there's something deeply rewarding about shaping the policies that affect millions of lives.
Exactly. You're kind of just acting as like a voice, like projecting their voice when they really can't be heard at those like really high levels in office. So
Exactly.
that's really important. And I think it's definitely a very challenging career to pursue. I think it's general. It can be very, it's easy to get swayed in politics
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
It could be I don't want to say slimy, but it could be a very slimy business. So I think
Yeah.
keeping your morals, keeping your character intact is really respectable. And I think if you're very passionate about it, both politics and law, it's definitely worth checking out and just maybe watching some videos and looking
Yeah.
into it if you want to pursue that kind of career.
Or watching this episode.
This podcast.
This podcast,
Hey,
right?
plug,
So,
plug.
anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode on what it's like to be a political lawyer and just learning more about political law, right? I didn't really know too much about it. I mean, we know a lot about corporate law and, you know, family law and immigration law, but
Yeah.
the legal field is so big. Like, there's
me-
so much.
For sure. I think when I was actually getting into like thinking about being a lawyer, I did not know that real estate law was a thing. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know what I like. What do I like pursue? I have no idea. I was like, what corporate that I'm like real estate law? Pause. Wait, it's like
Yeah,
it's
like-
interesting. Same with that
okay.
political law. I was like, I could think about doing both, maybe just one, maybe going from one to the other. Like, there's so much you
Yeah.
could do in law. It's absolutely
That's
crazy.
another great point. Like, you can kind of like
Bounce around.
bounce around in your career. You don't have to stay stuck in like one field. Like, if you start out as like immigration law, like, okay, you can like expand your horizons. Like,
sure.
you know, study a bit on, you know, corporate law if you want to get into that and just like, you know, bounce to that. Like, that's just the beauty about the legal field, and it's just so vast, and there's so many options out
and so
there.
many people to meet. I think that's why I also really
Exactly.
leaned towards real estate law, because I was like, I just love like being with people and like having
Yeah.
that kind of like social like interaction where like it feeds you in that way. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I yap a lot, but like it's actually true. Like I do feel very happy when I
Yeah.
just like am social. Like
Yeah.
it just makes you like feel good about yourself.
It's just great. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the episode, please like leave us a comment, leave us 5 stars on
Leave
Spotify.
us 50 hearts in the comments
Yes,
when all you liked
15
it.
hearts, yellow and blue, please. Yellow and blue. Anyways, and also let us know in the comments if you want to hear what topics do you want to hear about, what other fields within
Are you interested in hearing about, learning about?
like different like types of lawyers or
Yeah.
different jobs within the legal field, because just being in the legal field doesn't necessarily mean you're going to
It's
be a
not
lawyer.
all one box. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all not
it's
just
not
either
an
corporate
attorney.
or like
There's
a,
so many
it's
different.
not all like suits. I promise.
Exactly. Exactly. So there's so many parts. So like, let us know what you want to hear about in this podcast, and we'll be glad to take in all your comments and just
Help you
really
like discern what you want to do. I think
exactly
is basically why we're here.
And of course, we're media, so we're gonna tell you to follow us on everywhere. So please follow us on Spotify, on the places Pre-Law and Order podcast there, and leave us 5 stars.
In the YouTube as well.
In the
Posting
YouTube.
lots of fun content on there.
Fun content. You're gonna see us there. You don't have Spotify? Don't worry. We're
also
on
YouTube.
YouTube too. We're on YouTube too. Like, you're not gonna escape us. We're everywhere.
And
And
have you in a chokehold. Be careful.
so, and we also would appreciate and would love if you follow Places at FIU on Instagram as well, where you're going to see clips of us and also a lot of fun content that Places posts. But yeah, that's a wrap for today.
But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really happy to be here again. Super
Yeah.
honored. And hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, and thank you for tuning in with your favorite legal ladies, Maciel.
And Nicole. Keep it classy.
Bye, guys.